I think we passed kneeling.
Shalom, Israel. This is Brother Nalah. Welcome to Nalah's Chamber, my channel to support in support of this truth and to do my portion of the work of spreading this truth and getting our people returning back to the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. Because first and foremost is all of the Most High through our King, our brother Yahweh Shai. In this episode, I'm going to do on Jay-Z. This past week, Jay-Z announced a partnership with the NFL, and after Colin Kaepernick, a few years back, who was quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers, decided to kneel in protest of police brutality and killings of black people, African American people, whichever you want to call our brothers, nation of Judah, predominantly. The tribe of Judah, I mean. Jay-Z, who was very much pro Colin Kaepernick, I think even Beyonce did a photo shoot with Colin Kaepernick, to show their support. So this kind of caught everybody off guard. Also, there's a song that Jay-Z and Beyonce did not too long ago called Ape Shit. And he had a line in Ape Shit that said something to the effect of, to the NFL, I don't need you, you need me more than I need you, something to that effect. Also, since this whole thing, since Colin Kaepernick set off that chain of events with the protests, a lot of the major artists, the black artists, boycotted the NFL Super Bowl halftime show, which we're the salt of the earth. So anytime Israel, aka blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans appear on that, the ratings go through the roof. One of the biggest pieces of the Super Bowl is the halftime show, because if you to get into the show business a little bit, the advertisers, depending on who's, the whole thing is a money-making thing. It's commercial advertisers. That's the main thing. That's why the biggest commercials come out Super Bowl Sunday. The most expensive commercials and the advertising rates are the highest at that point. Literally millions and millions of dollars for 30 seconds. The companies pay for 30 seconds. So it has to, that amount of what is the advertised space is worth has a lot of variables in it. One of the main variables of it is who's performing in the halftime show. Once again, when it's our people, that's when they can expect a spike in the ratings, which means that's more money for them. So once again, we're the salt of the earth, so it don't move without us. There's all black people on the field, 90%. And then, of course, the halftime show, our spirit is there too. So our spirit is always extra valuable. So unfortunately, we don't feel that. I mean, people in the truth know, and people of consciousness know, but our people don't realize their value sometimes. Like, we can shut everything down if we want to. Another reason why people are so mad at Jay-Z is like, you're surrendering when we have them against the ropes. But that's going into that Stockholm syndrome, even on the highest level with somebody like Jay-Z can have it, where you bent over during the middle of the fight. Like, how are we ever supposed to win this fight if you keep bending over? But that's going into prophecy too, and it's not going to be people like Jay-Z that's going to turn this tide, unless the Most High put some kind of spirit on him where he just go all out. But you would have to be not afraid to lose everything. Once you're not afraid to lose everything, that's when that spirit comes on you. But Jay-Z, obviously, he's already linked up with them, so this is not a surprise when you really think about it. It's just, it catches you off guard because you think, okay, that little rebelliousness in him against Kaepernick was a little bit militant. At least he has a little remnant inside of him that's not corrupted by Esau, where he will fight the system. But when he did that, it's like, okay, where do you go now, Jay-Z? He lost a lot of trust, even with people that are not conscious. It's like, what kind of move is that? Even Edomites gave up the ghost. That's the funny thing. And like, what is he doing? He just totally reverse course. But when you really delve deep into it, you already know that he's already playing the game. He's been playing the game with them for many years. So this past week, he did a press conference with the NFL commissioner, Roger Goodell, to basically, announce this partnership. But it was, when the spirit is not dealing with you, you're going to get confounded easy, because when you think about it, there was no real plan laid out to what this means. Just like, okay, this is Jay-Z from supposedly the black community, which he, quiet as kept, he hasn't been inside the black community, living amongst black people for many, many years now, for over 2 decades now. So, but that's the closest he can get, the closest the NFL can get, because he's street enough to have the respect of the people. And of course, he's down with them where they trust him, because he's so-called a billionaire now. So he's the perfect candidate. And as we know, he's been dealing with them for years. The secret hand, or the real white folks, as Dave Chappelle would say. He's been up in the chamber with them for many years. So the mistake they made, because he's not dealing in spirit, Jay-Z, is when you speak in truth and you speak in passion, you're going to come out looking good. You're going to come out looking believable, because what you're saying is what you believe. When you don't believe what you're saying, it's going to be evident. It's going to be seen. And the thing is, all praises to the Most High. There's the internet, as we said many times in different camps on different various things, and YouTube as well, is a double-edged sword. One of the good side of the double-edged sword is you can't hide truth anymore. Like, once something happens, you got people that are aware, so many levels of consciousness. You can name them, Tariq Nasheed being a main one. All the Sonetta people, him and his whole consortium. Even Brother Polites and Umar Johnsons and all the conscious people that Reza Islam is a new up and coming brother that's getting the information out, Muslim brother. You got too many people that's catching things right away. So in real time, even more reason why I created this channel, sort of along those lines, that you can't stop the truth. So Esau can't use that cover up. So Jay-Z is a victim of that in his own, and the NFL is a victim of that. What normally would have been, okay, this is the okey doke, like the Obama, what happened in 2008 when there was no real YouTube talking heads like that. YouTube was still kind of new, and there was not a lot of social media available in 2008. Now every move you make is getting scrutinized, so you can't hide truth anymore. So even Esau got to give up the ghost. Like, we can't even pretend like this ain't funny style. So when Esau, some Edomites say this is funny style, this partnership with Jay-Z and the NFL, that's when you slept up, because you can't even get the enemy to co-sign on what you're doing. The thing is, he's, once again, not to stray up too far, what I was getting at is that he's not saying anything with passion, because he really doesn't believe. He knows deep down inside that was something he was forced to do on many levels. I have my theories. One is that Jay-Z is a agency owner. Of course, he has this Rock Nation, which is a big company, but he also has a sports agency, Rock Nation Sports, which a lot of the the Edomites in the NFL and a lot of the big agents, sports agents, didn't like that. They, a black man that's getting these athletes $100 million deals, and they don't have the control, and just the fact that they like to have their hand in everything. You can't sit at the master's table and eat off his plate and think that's going to be it. They're going to brainstorm, they're going to think tank you and figure out how to get you back subservient. And this is part of what that is, because they announced that Jay-Z is going to be part owner of a team. But this is another trick, Esau's tricks. Esau is a serpent, like Tribe of Gad, aka Native Americans, say Edomites speak with forked tongues. So if you are a sports agent, you cannot be an owner, because that's tampering, and what they call tampering, conflict of interest. So they can use his ownership, and don't be surprised if you see this, you hear this a month from now or even a year from now, that the Jay-Z, he's forced to either sell his portion of whatever team he owns, or partially, because he's not going to own a team, but whatever portion of the team he owns, or he has to drop the Rock Nation Sports agency, because this has like shadiness or Esau's trickery and snakery written all over it. So they're actually, Jay-Z is actually losing the chess match. He shouldn't have ever got involved in this, but then again, maybe he didn't want to get involved in it, but he's dealing with them. So in some secret room in some pyramid shaped building, they said, look, do this. You have to do what we tell you to do. You can see that all on his face, that he's BSing. Like he can't even, he doesn't speak with passion at all about what he's doing, because there was no end game to it. Okay, I'm going to be a partnership, but what does that mean? We've seen this trick with Jay-Z before, and you can't keep crying wolf. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You're not going to be fooling somebody twice, because that happened with the New York Nets when he was putting it out that he's part owner, and then it came to light, sometime later, that he had 0.1% ownership. Otherwise nothing. Like, you can do that. You can do that by yourself. You can do that through your phone, is have 0.1 ownership of a company. You just buy a good chunk of stocks with some, maybe a few $1,000, $10,000-$20,000. A person with $10,000-$20,000 can buy certain companies right through your phone, and you can say, I'm a part owner because I own 0.1% of whatever company, just by buying the stock. So that really, in other words, it doesn't mean anything. So you do this again, like, people know, his whole thing for the Nets was just to be the face and show people in Brooklyn that we did it. He's the Barclays Center is his, and it's all smoke and mirrors, because black people tend to be very simple-minded, and because most black people live in poverty, more than 75%, more than 2/3 of our people live in some sort of poverty, or come from some sort of poverty. Anything that looks rich or valuable, we'll just take it at face value. We don't know the inner workings of that, where it means nothing. Just because you're on TV in front of the Barclays Center, you got front row seats, and you wear a suit, and you're rubbing elbows with these rich owners, that you've made it, you're in there, but really you're just a face, a puppet. You're like a spokesman, a pitchman. It's like George Foreman Grill. George Foreman does not own George Foreman Grill. He was the face of it. He got paid a nice chunk of money to have his name licensed out like that, but he doesn't own the company. He doesn't have any business. He doesn't functionally run anything on the George Foreman Grill. It's sort of the same thing with Jay-Z, and people are getting wise to that. So this is the way he slipped up this time. To do a little background on Jay-Z, and why, another reason why this is not what it seems, or it backfired, or Jay-Z is not the guy that's going to bring us up on any level, really. To me, it's not. He's not even gonna. He's gonna help a handful of people in his inner circle, and that's it. As for the black people at mass, Jay-Z can't help you at all. He's too. You cannot serve two masters. You will love one and despise the other. You can't be for your people and playing Esau's game. You cannot. No way you slice it. So anything Jay-Z does with Esau, you can almost automatically dismiss. You can not almost. You can automatically dismiss that. So the question becomes: and when was Jay-Z ever good? When was he ever for his people? He's born Sean Carter, of course, 1969 in Brooklyn. Grew up in Brooklyn's Marcy Projects. 69, if you do the math, by 89, that's during the height of crack. 89, 90, 91. It was in full swing. He's in his early 20s then. So he spent, his developmental age selling crack, selling poison to his people. There was even one interview he did years later where he said, if you weren't a rapper, what would you be doing? He was like, I'll be selling drugs. He liked the energy. He liked the excitement of it. So years later, after he was rich and married to Beyonce, you still would want to sell drugs?
If you weren't a rapper, you'd be a drug dealer. You still think you'd be a drug dealer?
That shit was fun.
Was it?
Yeah. It's a adrenaline rush. Ask anybody who's ever been really in the middle of the game. It's an adrenaline rush that it's addictive. That's why people. It's a very dangerous field, job, occupation, but the rush that you get, because it's final. It's final. You could be sitting up in the plug's house and the whole thing get raided, and they're not going to jail. They're tough. They're not going to jail. They just start shooting. It was just a rush with the whole.
What was your favorite part about it? Did you like counting the money? Did you like cutting the shit up? Did you like serving motherfuckers?
The adrenaline, it's the life. It's
the whole
game.
thing.
It's the whole, just being in the game. It's almost like being a rapper, because you're a star, and with whatever town you in, you're the star there because you're the big guy in town, and
right.
It's just the whole.
I mean, would you sell drugs to Blue Ivy? Would you want your daughter, Blue Ivy, to somebody to sell her drugs? Why? If somebody asked them that question, why wouldn't you want anybody to sell drugs to Blue Ivy? Because you love her, right? You love her, and you know that would destroy her. She become a destroyed version of what she was. So you're selling her something that you know with intent to destroy that person. So if Jay-Z's beginnings is that, then when was he ever good? When did he ever really uplift his people? See, the thing you have to understand is, in order to really do for your people on the highest level, you would have to first foremost love being black. You would have to have some love of being black, because it starts with self first. You cannot not love being black and then love black people. It's like if you don't love yourself, you could never love anybody else. You can't love somebody and don't love yourself. So the same thing with the race. You cannot love being black. You cannot not love being black and then love black people. So selling crack to me is an act of not loving black people, because you fully know, anybody can see it. I never sold a crack a day in my life, but growing up around that time as well, or being alive during that 90s time, you saw what it did. You saw that it turned the whole nation into zombies. So if you still said that as a rich man, that you would still sell it, so your heart was corrupt then. And this is after he said this way after. He said this in the 2000s when he's already with Beyonce and living in mansions and yachts and in private jets. So you still would sell poison to your people. So that shows you where the root is of him. Of where the character is. Another thing is he also blasphemed on a spiritual level. He blasphemed the Holy Spirit many times. You got songs like Lucifer, and you got songs him saying that he never read the Bible in a day in his life. So when was this dude ever good? Like I said, he's I would consider him the greatest rapper of all time. He's the Michael Jordan of recording, like he said in his song, one of his songs. But that doesn't forget about that. Put that to the side. When was he ever truly for his people? When did you see the manifestation of something grand? The level he elevated to from some kid from the project, from a dirty drug infested project in Brooklyn, to become a billionaire. When did he uplift his people? Any other race, when they have their upliftment of their people, they make sure that their people are taken care of. Like, let's say any other heathen race, the Chinese people, when they come here, they make sure to use a Jay-Z album title, Blueprint, they make sure their people have the blueprint to own all these Chinese restaurants in the neighborhood. When the Indians come here, from dirt floors in India, they make sure they have the blueprint, and they know most of them get into the medical field. We're the only people that don't have when our people get up there, they don't have a blueprint, even though he's named his title the Blueprint. But not just Jay-Z though, but just black people in general. We don't make sure that our nation gets uplifted in the most strongest, massive way. They do little things here and there, little charity and little giving sneakers out at Christmas, but that's nothing. That's all stuff that can be disposable. I'm talking lifetime upliftment. Like, even let's say Oprah, her building a school in South Africa, where she's from Mississippi. Part of her early childhood was Mississippi, and her later childhood was in Milwaukee. Where did she do for all the people suffering in Mississippi and all the poverty in Milwaukee? Like, where did she do? Like, where were you became a billionaire, the richest black woman ever, and where was the upliftment of the people? You go into Africa to do it. So, once again, you would have to love being black first, and then you would have to be in love with your people. And that's the beauty about the nation of Israel. The beauty of being in the truth is because we're of the knowledge that we are of God's chosen people. So you have no choice but to love it. If the Most High, the Creator of the universe, tells you you're His favorite, you have no choice to be in love. Now, we're not in love with the curses. We know that. We see our people as frustrating. But in our deepest spirit, when we gathering together in holy days, and the spirit is right, you can feel like this is where I belong amongst my people and my nation. And that's where the being in love. So because you're following those laws, it makes you even more so in love. It gives us structure, in this kingdom. Like Jay-Z, once again, consensus about him, the example becomes wealth and money, and then you become like Esau. You become in love with fame and money and power, and you cannot serve two masters. I can't keep stressing that enough. You can't be in love with fame and money and material and love the Most High too. Now, you can get those blessings, but if you get those blessings, you get people, you can build, Jay-Z can build a big temple where we can worship at, the Most High at. That's what you do with that money, because at the end of the day, when you die, 70% of that money you will never touch. So even if you're a billionaire, but how much of that money in your lifetime will you ever touch? So it's almost like it's not there. It's just in the air. It's a number on a screen or piece of paper that you'll never be able to touch. You have enough material items, whatever you want, you can have it. You can go be anywhere or do anything. The number starts, the more rich you get, the less that number means, because how much objects are on the earth. You can have after $1 billion, you can say, I can have any object on the earth. I can have a yacht, a house, a mansion, a condo, a plane. You have the money, physical money doesn't mean anything. You have a key to have any object you want. Okay, you're going to die and you cannot take those objects with you. So what does the $1 billion mean if you can't use that to help your people? That's why white people, they have a much better way of thinking, because they become what they call philanthropists, where they give 80% of their money away. Bill Gates said something to the effect of, I want to give like 70% of all the billions I have away. Which, when you think about it, it sounds crazy to a poor person, but to a smart person, it's like, wait a minute, that's true, because you'll never see that bottom of it. So it might as well go to uplift people, but not to stray too far of that. So yeah, getting back to Jay-Z, the root. from selling those drugs on the street. Then the drug money got flipped between him, Kareem Biggs, and Dame Dash. They all flipped that drug money. They cleaned it, which is another thing. Esau decides who he. That's how you also deal with them on the top level, because they always have something against you. If Jay-Z was ever to turn on them, they can say, you know what, we're going to open those records and find out, where did you get all that money to start Rockefeller from? You're a high school dropout with no uneducated. Where did you get millions of dollars to start a record label? Which they did to Murder Inc. If they want to find a way to take that stuff, they can, just like Bill Cosby. You can be the ultimate richest man, and you can, when Esau decided to pull a plug on you and have you spend the rest of your years in jail, no matter how rich you are, your money can't save you, because at the end of the day, you're borrowing Esau's money, and he can take it back whenever he wants. I would say Jay-Z hasn't been, like I said, he was never good. When I say good, he was never for his people. Or he was always dealing with the enemy from selling crack up till now. But street-wise, he was always street. But Jay-Z hasn't been street since, if I put a timestamp on it, it was the Black Album. That's when, to me, he started going from just that niggerish selling drugs and typical street nonsense to, okay, I'm dealing with the forces. I'm rich now, and I'm up here with the rubbing elbows with the elite. So the Black Album is funny. That was supposed to be his retirement album, but he definitely made that the time when he turned that corner in dealing with elite. That's when you would see him with Do As Thou Wish shirts, and dealing with Lucifer and going into that zone, that chamber. So he hasn't been street since then, and all his street cats, pretty much the people he was surrounded with, Dame Dash and that crew, even Memphis Bleak, his protege, is at a distance from him. He has his right-hand man, Tata, but that's only because he really trusts that dude, and I'm sure they have a different dynamic where I think the other dudes are too street. I think Tata, his boy, and his right-hand man, he can trust him to be around. Basically, when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, he can trust him to be around white people and not embarrass himself or not be too street. So he's sort of along the lines of Jay-Z. They can be around white people, they can be around street dudes. With the other cats, like Memphis Bleak, it's a little too street, so he could never really take him under his wing as far as making him an executive in the company. But yeah, this is Esau Kingdom, and you cannot eat at the master's table without dealing with the master, and definitely can't pick food off of his plate. On another note, before I wrap it up, it's always Jay-Z, and many people have said this in different blogs for many years now, it's like trading places. Esau gets off on seeing somebody like Jay-Z, and let's say even more recently, in recent years, Cardi B, somebody from the dirtiest place. Like Jay-Z's from the projects in Brooklyn, Cardi B is from the projects in the Bronx, and we took her from a strip club, dirty, cleaned her up, and we put her on the pedestal and made her a household name, where she's now in mansions and she's hanging out with it. They get off on that. That's why they made that movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy, where he was Billy Ray Valentine, this dirty bum con artist, and they put him up there with the elite in the Wall Street. It's just something Esau has tickles his fancy to see that. So Jay-Z has always been that to them. They like him for that reason. But the final note, Roger Goodell, the one thing that gave it away, and he's candy apple red, is when Jay-Z is explaining himself, and Jay-Z, not to make mockery of him, because he's still our brother, and the miracle would be for him to repent, but that's going to be a tough order. That's going to be a long one. He's not, Jay-Z has never, and it's funny that Beyonce's that way too. They're very popular, very talented, but they're both not well speakers. Beyonce's not a very great speaker. She's real country, and I'm not saying she's not smart or she's not, she definitely was savvy enough to know how to take her career take that talent of singing and make it go through the furthest level he can. And Jay-Z took his talent for rap and took it to the furthest level he could. But they're definitely 100% not eloquent speakers. They couldn't do any debate with anybody. You can just tell, you just watch interviews of Beyonce talking, you'll see it. You can watch interviews of Jay-Z talking. He's trying to sound real eloquent, but he's really not that eloquent. Michael Jackson was like that too. Michael Jackson, great talent, super great talent, but very tongue-tied. When you hear him talking, like some of the stuff he says doesn't even make sense. But that's the Most High, in his creation. My opinion, my spiritual discernment of it is keeping you humble. I gave you all these talents, but I'll leave real big imperfections in you, because there's only one person that walked perfect in the world. That's Yahweh Shai. So, as talented as Michael Jackson is, he wasn't a great talker. He mumbled. He mispronounced a lot of words. Jay-Z the same way. Beyonce the same way. So, and they like that, because when you're not a great speaker, that whoever you're speaking to, let's say particularly Edomites in power, you'll give them that feeling that they're above you. But when Jay-Z is speaking, and this is the red herring, this is what really sold it for me, that this is all BS. Not that I needed proof, but this is where even the most least conscious, least conspiracy theorist person is when he said that we need to stop the kneeling in protest. So when you say that, and then Roger Goodell, he's candy apple red. That's a red Edomite, real red. That's Esau in the flesh. He looked at Jay-Z. That's like good boy. Like he nodded his head. And when you see that, that's like, okay, you in our pocket, nigga. You're doing our bidding. And he was like giving Jay-Z, that's right. That's what they said.
I think we've passed kneeling. I think it's time to go into actionable items. I know we're stuck on it because it's a real thing, but it's a form of protest. I support protests across the board. We need to bring light to the issue. I think everyone knows what the issue is, and we're done with that. Issue is, and we're done with that. I think we've passed kneeling. Knows what the issue is, and we're done with that. I think we've passed kneeling.
And think about what it is. He's saying, in other words, look, stop that kneeling. It's making our Edomites advertisers mad. It's making the NFL crowd, the audience, the actual people that buy tickets to the stadiums, is making them mad. So forget the kneeling. Stop doing that. In other words, stop all this. We got Jay-Z. Be quiet. He's gonna make sure he's in with us now. He's gonna make sure there's no racist stuff going on. So they sold it to the people, but like I said, by the spirit of the Most High inventing this internet, you cannot hide truth. And the truth is light, and the light will shine on everyone. So yeah, Jay-Z, once again, the Most High created him for whatever purpose. And I mean, on so many levels, we'll never know the full answer, but you can see all these people that of the Most High's creation that get notoriety and fame are an example to us, and they are actually fulfilling their own prophecy. And you cannot deal with Esau and be dealing straight with our people, so nobody co-signed that. I'm glad. It was beautiful to see that a lot of people of respect shut that down, particularly Tariq Nasheed, and even other people like Ebro, and there were people from ESPN that some sports athletes didn't like it. Colin Kaepernick's wife, fiance, or whatever she is, she went off. So I'm glad it got shut down. We're not going for that okie doke anymore as people are awakening. So it shows me that we're close enough to get out of here, because we can't be fooled that easy anymore. So once again, this was a commentary by Brother Nalah. I thank you in advance for supporting this channel. I want to continue to make commentary videos on current events that's happening, and I can only do that with your continued support. So hit that subscribe button. I mean, it's very easy to do. Just click that button and click the notification bell so I can continue to make more of these videos and develop a following for this channel in all appreciation under the house of Israel, and in honor of the Most High. So shalom, stay blessed, keep the laws, statutes, and commandments to the best of your ability, and may the Most High walk with you until He mightily returns, and we take love and citizenship in the kingdom. Bahashima Mashiach Yahushai, Shalom.